Hey everyone, it's day 3 of the meta. The meta is kind of getting shaped up, and I've got a day 3 tier list of what I think the best decks are, the second best decks, and kind of the third ranked decks of what's popular. There's some decks that sort of didn't make the cut because they're just not getting played, but these are the decks lots of people are playing and that people are doing well or not doing well but still playing. First, we got the tier 1s. We got Rainbow Mage. This is probably the most popular deck in the game right now. There's some that don't run Sunrail that said this 7-drop, but this is the list that I'm seeing the most pros play that I think looks the best overall at the high ranks. But I think some people like running this Elemental Inspiration builds but I think probably both are fine. So this is my probably choice for the best deck in the game. Then we've got my Mech Rogue list that I posted a few days ago. I think this is one of the best decks in the game. I've been in top 20 Legend on NA for a while. I keep getting in the top 10, but I haven't been able to get to number 1 yet, but I think maybe getting a little bit better. Maybe the list also finds, one more card refinement that puts it over the edge, but overall, one of the best decks in the game. Next, we got Hound Hunter. This I haven't played much, but it's very much like the old style. But the main big thing it has is the always bigger Jormungandr and the new Titan, the Agrimar. And both these cards are very strong cards that sort of gives more redundancy in finishing and just general powerful plays. The cards to be an overall improvement in the deck. It's one of the highest win rate deck at diving through Legend by a large margin. There's probably no better deck to get Legend with. It's an absurdly strong deck. And only until you get to like top 50 Legend does it probably get beat by Rainbow Mage players. But I'm still seeing it in top 50 Legend all the time. So not as popular amongst the absolute pros, but still really, really good at the high ranks and absolutely crushes. If you are not a pro player, this is my number 1 choice if you want to get Legend. A little more expensive, so I'll show you one of the cheaper options. But yeah, a fantastic choice. Next, we've got the tier 2s. We got Control Priest. This is really just the old list, but runs a few new cards. Runs the Creation Protocol, runs the Amon, and runs Ignis. Ignis is a really, really good card in Control Priest because it just allows you to get. If you get to the late game and you're having trouble finishing your opponent, you craft a 10-mana weapon with Wind Fury or something like that, and you do 30 damage from hand, real easy. So having Ignis gives that Control Priest that normally doesn't have Burst a real reliable finisher. Next, we got Thaddius Warlock. This is the list I was doing really well with. It's one of the most popular lists. There's a list that runs, but the most popular list is not running Reverberations, and is instead running Ravenous Kraken. I think this is a big mistake. Reverberations is a must-have in the current meta if your deck runs it, and I don't think Kraken is that good. So there are some lists that run Tour Guide instead of Chaotic Consumption. I could see some little minor adjustments, but overall this list looks really good, and I was doing very well with it. Next, we got Nature Shaman. I haven't played that much of this, but this deck has a solid win rate and seems once you get good at it, it can do really powerful things. That being said, because of Solid Alibi, it just doesn't really quite beat Mage because the Mage can see you're going to play the Flash of Light and then go Solid Alibi, and then you're kind of screwed. But that being said, this deck looks really, really strong. While it's not tier 1, I'd say it's still a really, really good deck. Next, we got Drum Druid. This is the list. This is if you're on a budget, it's probably my number 1 choice because it's really cheap. The only legendary it runs is Topior and Astalor, which you should have Astalor anyways. Everyone should just craft Astalor. It's going to be good. It's been good. But yeah, it's a lot of token cards, so not a lot of legendaries. So I think a really cheap deck and really, really strong. You just make a bunch of giant drum circle board and you win the game. And finally, for tier 3, we got Plague Death Knight. This deck is very popular, but not actually that good, but it's not terrible. That's why it's tier 3. You can get the job done, but it's not the best deck in the game by any means. So though that is my tier list. I got links below if you want to know my budget. Warrior bad. I'm not going to give you guys any warrior suggestions. because I don't want you to craft warrior. There's actually a lot of good Paladin decks, but they're not really quite seeing play. But there's pure Paladin lists that run so things like Crusader's Aura, but it's just still not very popular. There are better decks for the low ranks, but it's still a good deck, but I didn't want to include it in this tier list. And then, you know, there are other Hunter decks like Secret Hunter, but I thought Hound Hunter is still the best one. And Demon Hunter, I've only really seen Relic Demon Hunter as a new deck, which isn't really that exciting, so I didn't want to include that in this list. If you're wondering why the classes that did not make the cut, that is why. But yeah, anyways, all these decks are solid choices except for maybe Plague Death Knight for laddering. So if you're playing any one of these decks and you can't climb, probably just work on getting better at your deck, or you can always switch decks. But you know, if you craft one of these, I think so. Probably the safest options right now of these decks, in my opinion, are probably Rainbow Mage and Hound Hunter and Mech Rogue, the tier ones. For, you know, I think you're less probably Nature Druid and Drum Druid, Nature Shaman and Drum Druid. If you're a more beginner player, are a little more combo-y, so you might struggle with them. Where Mech Rogue and Hound Hunter are probably the most tempo-based. Rainbow Mage is a little bit harder, but still quite good. Even so, I think these are probably Hound Hunter and Mech Rogue. If you're a beginner player, are my number 1 and 2 choices to play. So anyways, hope you guys enjoy this. Once again, links to decks in the comments. See you guys on the ladder.